All right, welcome back. You know, little Kev's just cheered me up. He's bought me a little Christmas present. Isn't that sweet? Oh, I do love Kev. He is a big misanthropist. We all know that. He tends to dislike humans and much prefer animals, but he's got such a gentle side. We're welcoming to the studio the brilliant Mike Neville. Hello, my love. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm very well, actually.
Oh, shall we get into the festive spirit and talk about people nicking things?
Well, it is the festive thing to do, it would seem.
Tidings of loot.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about retail staff facing a Christmas shoplifting epidemic, 810 offences going unsolved every day, almost 300,000 cases closed with no suspects identified in the last year. More than half a million thefts reported, up 65%.
So what you've got to imagine,
on
Alex,
the year before.
But what you've got to imagine is there's a lot more than 800 shopliftings a day.
Oh no,
the only time that a shopkeeper will report a shop theft is if they catch the criminal, or there's been some kind of violence, or something really, really valuable is stolen and they've got to claim it on the insurance. So thousands and thousands of shopliftings each day go unreported because there's little point. And I saw that the the Liberal Democrats are saying, oh, we need mass CCTV. We've already got mass CCTV.
Yes.
We've already got that. What is failing here, and it's my area of expertise really in the police, is that whereas with fingerprints and DNA there's a national database, there is no national database of images. So, if you get caught, if you go into the police station under arrest, say your fingerprints and DNA and an image of you, a mugshot. The fingerprints and DNA are run across a national database, so if you're wanted for a theft or a burglary or rape somewhere else, they'll catch you. The images are just filed away. So you could have done 10 shopliftings wearing exactly the same clothes, and that image is never checked on a database. Right. And I keep saying this to the police, and they're obsessed. Mark Rowley is saying, shopkeepers must hand over more CCTV. They already hand over CCTV. What's the problem is the police have no systems to deal with images, particularly if you're an organised thief. So if you're prepared to bounce around up in the north, Bolton, Burnley, St Helens, Preston, they all sound close, but they're in 4 different police areas, and so those images are never shared and no one ever links them together. And so if they're ever caught, these shoplifters, to get done for one, if they get done, one, and then they get what, a 10-bob sentence or a warning or something like that. And so there's no deterrent. Why wouldn't you carry on?
But it's also my understanding is that this isn't just a case of people going, oh, my kids aren't going to have a scale Xtrix this Christmas, I'm just going to lift it off the shelf. A lot of this is down to organised crime as well. You know, when you look at the theft of things such as wines or luxury meats and so on and so forth, my understanding is a huge amount of this is going round the back of restaurants and takeaways, being sold on the black market, but also put into vans and being taken across Europe.
Well, even further. So I heard from one of the heads of the major supermarket security that baby milk, baby milk, the children must be starving. Well, the baby milk is actually being shipped to Vietnam. That's how far that's going out. I mean, I have to say, one of the best organised crimes I ever saw was a pub in Pimlico, where there was a nice petrol station with a nice garage shop attached to it, food, and where you went into this rather seedy pub, but you could order really good food. But he had drug addicts around the back, and he'd they want the steak, and they'd go across the shop and nick the stuff. So 10 minutes later, it's served up on you. That's how stupid it is. That's how bad it is. And people, like I say, no one's starving. When somebody steals 4 legs of lamb, they're not eating 4 legs of lamb, they're going to sell that on. And the booze especially will go to warehouses where, if you run a club, why should you pay full price when you can go to this squalid and dishonest place and you can buy it half or a third of the price? Right. All very organised and stolen to order, as you say. There's no one nicking it because
it's highly professional and sophisticated now. And there's multiple reasons why this is happening. You're talking about pubs potentially buying cut price products. I mean, when you look at the business rate changes of pubs now, it's insane. How are they supposed to stay afloat? Not that I'm endorsing buying sort of bootleg
the other thing you've got, Alex, is the internet now. So whereas one time you had to nick the stuff and then go around hawking it around a pub and stuff, now you've got all sorts of facilities on the internet to sell stolen goods. And the key thing for me is, the trouble is the very organised nature of these things. It's fueling other crimes unless we get a grip of it. But the police could get a grip. I've offered to help them for free. They keep saying they got no money. I said, I'll help you for free. We'll set this up. A friend of mine designed this database who would manage all these things. We've been trying to find a police force to say, look, you can have it for free. And,
right, wow.
But everything's hard work with the police. You've got an IT department whose sole notion is to say no to everything. It's dreadful. So they're not catching of this country.
Well, at least there's some good news, which is that non-crime hate incidents are to be scrapped. Thank goodness for that. I mean, it's so ridiculous that these existed in the first place. And it's not only is it ridiculous that they came into fruition, that they even exist, but that police seem to want to investigate them. If I was a police chief and, you know, someone phoned up and said, oh, my brother-in-law said such and such the other day, I'd just say, we're not going to go and knock on his door. That's ridiculous. Well, I don't understand how police forces have lost their minds over this.
Well, let me tell you how the mind loss came. So, Stephen Lott, I'm partly to blame for this. So I released some figures. As a young officer, I did some research into the levels of street crime committed by young black men. That was actually released by the Commissioner, Sir Paul Condon. And there was massive criticism. They didn't like it. It's only now we're allowed to talk about these. We're talking in the 90s here. And then the Stephen Lawrence murder occurred, and that tragic murder, they then used that, as the left-wing politicians used that as a stick to beat the police. It's more to do with incompetence, anything, that murder wasn't solved as quickly as it should have been. Nothing else, incompetence and other things. But what happened then, after Stephen Lawrence, you had the Macpherson report, and in it, this introduces concept of hate crimes. And this country's always been based on facts. Show me the evidence. But this was the first time if it's perceived to be racist. So feelings started to dominate facts. So you didn't have to give any reasons. So the reports in the paper, a bloke complains he's got a dodgy haircut, or the bloke did it because I felt he was racist, or something like that. Somebody was hanging up dirty underpants on the washing line. That's a racist incident against me. So all that nonsense was allowed to flourish. And what you have is the police are now dominated by the establishment, the liberal Guardian reading class. To them, this is more important. Racism is the ultimate crime.
Yeah.
And thieving and robbing and raping, that's a secondary issue. And what you have here, the police are solving at the moment 1% of thefts, 5% of burglaries, if that, 5% of rapes. So you think, if they were solving 95% of all these crimes, they think, well, we've got not much time on our hands here, so what we'll do, we'll police being nice to each other. But they haven't got loads of time on their hands. They've already got... why are they ignoring this?
It's just
too easy. It's too easy.
Yeah, I know.
Too easy.
Oh, it's such a...
You know, because somebody reports a burglary, Alex, you've got to go and you've got to investigate that, take fingerprints, DNA, get some CCTV, find the offender. If a neighbour says, oh, Alex said to me this horrible word, they know who you are. It's an easy arrest.
Yeah, especially if it's on social media, but here's the evidence.
Here it printed out, next door to me. Oh. So it's easy peasy, and let's hope they say they're going to use common sense. What their common sense and our common sense is sometimes not the same thing. That's the problem.
Well, let's hope that 2026 we start to see an improvement on all fronts. Yeah. Mike, thank you ever so much for coming into the studio.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you as well.